So currently right now our items arrays don't really have any communication with each other in the way that you can have two different rings of evasion or two different swords. So let's change that. So here under our step event in our game object, we have our O input back and our O input action. These are the buttons responsible for selecting and unselecting our items. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new if statement. And what this statement is going to tell GameMaker is we're going to check the other box and see if that box contains if that other box contains the item that we want to put in this one. And if it does have the item we want to put in this one, then we're simply going to copy the other box's instance ID, and we're going to store it in this variable. And then we're going to also store whatever's in this box into a variable, and then we're going to switch them both, right? Then we're going to play a little audio effect to show the player that something has happened. And if this returns as false, then it just means that, hey, we don't have two different of the same object types, and you can just forget about this piece of code. You don't really need to run it. So that's good. We'll just run our code normally, if that's the case. And then we do the exact same thing for our back key, except we just flip our array number from 1 to 0. So it's going to check the 0 box, and it's going to say, hey, the 0 box contains the item that we want, and if it does, let's store it in a variable like the instance ID, and then then yeah, that's what it does. It just simply stores it here, and then it switches them if it's the same item. So let's see if it works. And alright, so we have our roll, and then we have our sword. And if we try to switch them, voila! It also works for like the blank one, because it's technically a ID. Now, there's going to be a glitch. So if you try to do this, and you store your global.item oswordui right here, when you initialize your game, you might encounter this glitch, right? And I'll explain what's happening here. So what's happening is GameMaker actually created two different instance variables. One when it created the game, and another and stored it in the OItem1. So this has its own instance ID. And then a second instance ID when it created the sword UI. And although they look exactly the same in terms of sprite and it has the same object function, because it has two different instance IDs, GameMaker treats it as its own separate object entity. So if I press shift, I should have a second sword because it has a different instance ID. And there we go. It does have a different instance ID. So the way you fix that is you just have to make sure that this ID is the exact same one as this one. And that'll fix it. Alright guys, have a great day, and have a great night as well.